Hi, welcome to my video on the GoPro 3-way 2.0 versus the Telesin multi-mount. Now I bought these two items from off Amazon UK. The GoPro 3-way cost me $69.99 and the Telesin multi-mount cost me $35.99. As you can see, both of these items look very much identical. This is how the GoPro 3-way 2.0 looks when it's out the box. Now from the top of the mount here, because it uses a buckle mounted system at the top. So from the top of the mount to the bottom, when collapsed down, the total length of the GoPro 3-way 2.0 is 8 inches. It has a thickness of the handle, because obviously the handle and the body and the arm doubles up in total as the handle itself, and the thickness of this handle is just over 1¼ inch. As for the diameter across of this GoPro 2.0 3-way 2.0, it is just over 1¼ inches. Now this is how the Telesin multi-mount looks when you take it out the box. Now it's made of the same ABS plastic as the GoPro 3-way 2.0. It has rubber for the body, for the legs, so the legs and the body double up along with the stem itself, just like the GoPro 3-way 2.0. So it becomes the handle. We have rubber on the legs here, but not on the back of the actual stem or arm. It doesn't have that like the GoPro 3-way 2.0. Now, as for length, the actual length of the Telesin multi-mount from the top of the mount to the bottom is 9 inches long. It has a thickness of 1¾ inch, and it has a diameter across here of 1 inch, so it's thinner than the GoPro 3-way 2.0. When it comes to the mounting of your camera with the GoPro 3-way 2.0, it uses the buckle mounted system, and what you have is the actual platform to place your buckle mount, which you do not get in a box, by the way. You have to provide that yourself, the actual buckle mount. You just get the platform, and it has a lever just below the buckle mount where you pull on the lever to loosen it, and you can twist the buckle mount in any direction, 360 degrees, where you want the camera to point. Now with the Telesin multi-mount, we have a GoPro style fingers at the top, which sits on a plastic ball similar to the GoPro 3-way 2.0. Now in the box, you do get a thumb screw with this, so it connects to your camera using the mounting system fingers at the top, so it doesn't require a buckle. Now at the top here, for this ball head, to release the ball head, it doesn't use a lever like the GoPro 3-way does. This uses a thumb screw, which is made out of the same ABS plastic, and obviously the screw inside is made of metal, and it has a nice pattern on this thumb screw itself. Now at the top of these both items, both mounts sit on a ball head, a plastic ball head that can, when released with either the lever or the thumb screw, can position your camera and hold your camera in any position up to 365 degrees. When it comes to repositioning these selfie stick tripods, they both use the same system. They both use 2 thumb screws on each intersection of each of the stems where both stems meet. I would give this one to the Telesin rather than the GoPro, because the Telesin at least puts a little pattern on the thumb screws, and while the GoPro tends to be just plain on their thumb screws. Now this is how they look when they're fully extended out straight. Now the Telesin is the one below and the GoPro is the one on top. Now I'll start off with the Telesin one first, which has the GoPro 9 on there. Now from the top of the mount all the way to the bottom of the handle, it extends out to 21 inches. Now with the GoPro, top of the mount all the way to the bottom of the handle, this extends out to 20 inches. Now the unique thing about these selfie stick tripods, that's what I'm going to call them, is that they have the ability to bend halfway up the stem because they use a two stem kind of function with thumb screws in between the joints of the two stems. Now, just in case you are wondering that if you want to buy the Telesin GoPro, Telesin freeway system and place this kind of platform and ball head onto the GoPro, you cannot do it, because what they have done, Telesin, and this could be sneaky either from either companies or vice versa, is the ball head on the Telesin is larger than the ball head on the GoPro. Now I have taken these out. I've loosened the screw, the thumb screw on the Telesin, and I've loosened all the way the lever on the GoPro, and I tried to exchange the ball heads and they do not fit. These cups that they sit in, that these both sit in, are, one is bigger than the other. The Telesin is far bigger than the GoPro, so you can't exchange the two kind of mounting systems between these two items. It will not work. Now I'm going to delve into the stems of these. As I said to you before, they kind of use a stem. They both have the same kind of design feature. They both are two stems that are joined with two thumb screws in the halfway up each stem. Now the stems are concaved in, and they're both made of ABS plastic, as I stated before. Both thickness of the plastics are exactly identical. There's not much difference in the thickness of the plastic and the quality. It's just that the Telesin seems to be slightly more shinier than the GoPro. That's all it is. The Telesin plastic seems to be a bit more glossy than the GoPros. And while the GoPro, as you can see here on the last mount here, on the last section here, has the rubber because it folds into the handle, the same as the Telesin. Telesin seem to have not put rubber on there for some reason than the GoPro. So I do give it to the GoPro on that account. Now, when it comes to the handle of these items, I would have to personally myself give it to the GoPro rather than the Telesin. The GoPro has a shorter handle than the Telesin, only by about an inch, but it's a thicker handle in diameter. When you look at them, it's a thicker handle. Now, if you're like me, I tend to like items with a thicker handle, much better grip to me than a thinner handle. But if you've got big hands, now I've got medium-sized hands, right? So the handle of the GoPro suits me fine. But if you've got larger hands, the spacing on the Telesin is a lot better. It gives you more, by about an inch, it gives you more surface to hold than the GoPro. Now, when it comes to the collapsing of both of these, I will still have to give it to the GoPro rather than the Telesin, and this is why, and I've got that round the wrong way. Now, this is why I give it to the GoPro rather than the Telesin. The screw points on the Telesin, where the thumb screws are slightly stiffer than the GoPro. The GoPro seems to, when unscrewing and tightening back up these thumb screws, top and bottom here, is a lot easier than the Telesin. Not to say the Telesin is bad, it all depends up to the individual who has these. To me, I like the smooth running of, the smooth turning and tightening of the GoPro rather than the Telesin. Now, you may be somebody who, when turning thumb screws or any kind of screw, the stiffer and kind of tightness they are, is the more secure you think that item is. So you'll probably go for the Telesin. So it's an individual case to people, and I suggest that if you're going to go for any of these types of, I'd say, three-way mounts then, rather than selfie stick tripods, then I would buy the two of them first and try them out. Because as I said, they both are identical. It's just dimensions of the two of them that sets them apart, and the mounting system, but the build quality of both of them are exactly the same. As for when these both items have the legs spread out, looking at the legs on both of these items, the GoPro has a kind of diamond mesh system on their legs, and the legs of the GoPro are quite thick, and when close together they snap into place quite firmly when closing them up. Now when it comes to the Telesin legs system, when you open the legs out, they have the same kind of diamond shape structure inside the legs, but with these kind of circular holes in there to give it more strength. Now I have to give it to the Telesin on their leg system than the GoPro, because when it snaps back together, they snap back with more of a firmness than the GoPro does. The GoPro legs are thicker than the Telesin's. Both have rubber on the bottom of the legs to give it more grip. Now when these both have the legs spread out and you're using the tripod system of both of these items, I'd still err on the caution that these items are not heavy, so they will have a tendency to blow over if there's a wind. So be aware of that. Now next up is the position of the lanyards on here. Now I'll start off with the GoPro one first. Now the GoPro lanyard is mounted on the back of the actual freeway at the top. Now I do prefer that than the Telesin, which is mounted at the bottom. Now some people will probably prefer the Telesin's mounting of its lanyard than the GoPro, but the GoPro's lanyard is a nice thin corded lanyard with an adjustable mount on this cotton kind of cotton stroke nylon string here, which is quite strong. So I do give it that with the GoPro. On the Telesin, as I stated, it is mounted on the bottom on one of the legs here, and this has this kind of nice corded, thicker cord than the GoPro, which also has on it a wrist adjustment on there, which sits on this nylon and cotton rope, if you want to call it that, than the GoPro. Now, normally in my videos I will do my 2 pence worth and talk about the good and bad, but I'm just going to go straight to the conclusion. Now, first of all, there's good and bad with both of these, mostly to do with the mounting system than anything else, because the build quality of both of these are identical. There's not much in it whatsoever. As I stated, if you like a bit of glossiness to your own plastic, then I'd go with the Telesin here. If you like a bit of dullness and matte, then I would go with the GoPro one here. The only negative I've got with the GoPro, probably 2 negatives than anything else with the GoPro rather than the Telesin, is one has to do with its price. It's $69.99, and I think it's a bit too overpriced for what it is compared to the Telesin. If they could reduce the price, or you can get it on the GoPro subscription where they discount it, then I would suggest going for the GoPro than the Telesin if you want the buckle style mount. And that's the other I'd say negative about with the GoPro Freeway 2.0. It uses a buckle mount, so you're going to have to carry an actual mounting buckle here with you, and you do not get one in the box neither. Now I'll go over to the Telesin one. Now with the Telesin, the negative I give with the Telesin has to be, believe it or not, is the closing of the Telesin here. Now, it's hard to pick up, folks, and I hope you can pick it up, but there's a bit of a gap. Now, both of these use the same system. There's a kind of like a little kind of nut or nub that fits into a groove, and then when you close the item down, you could hear it more on the GoPro. When you release it and then you close it, it kind of snaps in. So, but the Telesin is supposed to do the same, but this is the second Telesin one that I've bought where it doesn't do that. So Telesin, if you're watching this, you need to do something about this being snapping in together. For some reason, it will not snap together. But in the hand, it does feel exactly the same as the GoPro. So that's one criticism, one negative with the Telesin. The other negative, and it's only purely because how I feel with items in my hand like this and selfie sticks, is the diameter of the Telesin is a lot thinner than the diameter of the GoPro. I like the thickness of the GoPro when collapsed down than the Telesin. But as I stated before, that if you're somebody with very big hands, I would go for the Telesin rather than the GoPro. You got that extra inch of surface area to hold than the GoPro. Good thing with the Telesin, as I stated before, it's the mounting system and its price. At $35.99, it's a good price for this item. And considering that this is their second generation of a freeway, GoPro style freeway, the first one of Telesins, which you can still buy, I think round about 12 to 15 pounds now, you can still buy it. This is a lot more improvement than that shape. On the both of them, I have to say, it's a lot more better, a lot more design has gone into both of these than the first generation of both of these items. I do give it a bit more positive, as I says, for the mount and also for the screws on here. Not because of the tightness of the screws when turning, loosening and tightening. It seems to be more tighter on the Telesin than the GoPro, which I don't like. I rather like the GoPro's one than the Telesin. But they've put a nice pattern on the thumb screws rather than the GoPro that just leaves it plain. So I do like that. So thought has gone out with the Telesin than the GoPro when it comes to little designs like that. Even though the GoPro does place a lever instead, which in some respects, if you've got gloves on, it's a lot easier to loosen with a lever than a thumb screw. But because of the shape of the thumb screw and the lever are both almost identical, they're both oblong, it doesn't really make that much difference. And as for extending these out, even if you're losing the legs or you're holding it in the hand, if you want a bit more, I would say, extension, then I would go with the Telesin. It's 1.5 inches more than the GoPro. And as for weight difference, the Telesin beats the GoPro because this is 207 grams in weight, and then the GoPro is 245 grams in weight. I had to look there, folks. So for lightness, with a camera on there, I'd go with the Telesin. Just before I wrap up this video, there's a couple of things I want to tell you what you should not do. First thing not to do is on both of these, do not put a mirrorless camera on there, nor a DSLR camera with any kind of lens on there. They're not really made for those type of cameras. These are just strictly made for action cameras. Next thing you got to look out for with these, when extending these out and you're using the tripod legs of both of these, please be mindful that these things are not exactly heavy. As I said to you about the weights of these, they're not heavy whatsoever. So if it's on uneven ground or even concrete and there's a bit of a wind, I suggest either keep have the legs out, but don't extend the stems out on both of them. So keep it as low to the ground as possible. If it's just a little breeze, then you can have them fully extended, but by all means, try and tether them if you can to a solid object, if you can do that. If you've got a budget, I'd go with the Telesin. If you haven't got a fixed budget, then go with the GoPro. But both of these work exactly the same way, so you're not missing out on either one of them. Thanks for watching the video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. I perfectly understand my videos can be long, but I like to go into detail on the item or the product, so when you get it, you know what to expect. Please subscribe to my channel if you like the channel. I'll be grateful for that. And I'll see you next time.